Alrighty guys, welcome back to Hip Hop Flash. And up next, we have Drake stans crashing out on Kendrick Lamar fans while also claiming that UMG is allegedly trying to ruin Drake's Iceman project by copyright striking and taking down anything related to Drake. And spoiler alert guys, that definitely is not the case. But have you noticed that these strikes are almost exclusively happening on Twitter? I actually had a video of mine manually copyright claimed on YouTube for about 5 seconds of a song, but they obviously left it up. Manual strikes and claims definitely aren't the usual way to go about it, and it's honestly a first for me, but I just edited it out. Usually, these claims and strikes are handled through an automated process, but here's the biggest factor with all these copyright strikes on Twitter. Twitter does not have a licensing agreement with these labels or music providers, so they can't really monetize the views, unlike YouTube where they can obviously claim and collect the revenue. So to me, this isn't some complex conspiracy to try and take out Drake, but definitely don't tell that to Drake stans because they've already run with the narrative that this is an attempt to blackball Drake and ruin Iceman. You got that right. They actually think that UMG wants to make less money by cutting off their nose to spite their face. Bam! These are legit DMCA notices. UMG owns the rights, and they're definitely enforcing them. And these types of takedowns aren't just for audio. Remember, these systems are automated and can detect not only audio, but visuals as well. And if they truly did strike down your post unjustly, guess what? You can fight that, right? I've seen tons of people claiming they're being silenced, but they're omitting a lot of information and posting cropped screenshots that really don't say much. But let me know in the comments if you guys think UMG is trying to ruin Drake's Iceman project and his other 2 surprise drops, or if UMG is actually trying to put more money not only in their own pockets, but also Drake's, since obviously he's collecting royalties as well. Companies don't want people circumventing these royalties, and that's exactly what a lot of these posts are doing. So why is that so difficult to understand? You're literally talking about posting the music and acting surprised about why it's being taken down. But enough of the delete downing, let's jump right into these videos and posts, where we have Drake stans crashing out on Kendrick Lamar fans and claiming that UMG is allegedly trying to ruin Drake's Iceman project by copyright striking and taking down anything related to Drake. And that obviously is not the case, guys. Again, more non-music industry people speaking on the music industry with no actual foundation or experience. At least read a book, fam. All right, this is the clip right here we're going to start off with. You know, I've really been sitting here racking my brain trying to figure out why UMG would copyright strike all these videos using Drake's music. And these people aren't posting reactions. They're literally just posting music snippets. I don't know what the motive would be other than trying to slow down the traction, which would then slow down. They want to get paid for people actually listening to the music. I don't know why that's so difficult to understand. Funny seeing how this is the last project they're going to get and profit off of from Drake. So why would you want to do that? That's also big-time speculation. There are so many people speaking as if they know the inner workings of that contract. Guess what? None of us really know. At the end of the day, this is all speculation. And as someone who's been signed as a producer for the last 5 years, labels do not want artists going out and doing that. There have been artists before who dropped like 3 projects in a day. Usually, labels only count one of those projects toward fulfilling the actual obligations of the deal. So then I'm like, okay, are they trying to make it seem like he's not as valuable so another company won't? Why would you do that with a lawsuit rumored to be happening? Is that why they're doing it? But honestly, that kind of seems null and void because it looks like the offer has already been made. They already see the value Drake brings and the value of his catalog. So it's like, did you guys see Maul saying Drake should be getting $5 billion in this deal? Which is definitely egregious because the guy doesn't even own his biggest projects. His most valuable work comes from early in his career, you know? Of course, they'd still go through with it if you're in that business.
Of course they'd still go through with it if you're in that business. It doesn't seem like copyright striking content creators. And you can still speak about the project. They're not taking that stuff down. I have content discussing this project myself. They're taking down people who are simply posting the music and things of that nature. If you're posting a clip from the music video, you have to understand that they'd much rather people go to YouTube and watch it directly there, where they can actually claim and monetize anyone using the music. They can't do that on Twitter. Like I said earlier, there are no licensing deals in place for them there. Streamers, videos on social media platforms, is that going to stop that? And then somebody posted a comment under my post over on X and said perhaps it was because Drake turned these albums in late and didn't provide any credit information, like who the producers were or who the engineers were. I will say this, there are plenty of times where the credits aren't fully reflected during the first few days, but they usually get updated later on. So we still have to wait and see, but yeah, we'll see. Or anything like that. He didn't provide any of that. So maybe UMG was trying to prevent any discrepancies or people not getting paid, something like that. Okay. Bam. If this project is being released, most of that business has already been handled. At the end of the day, Drake is a premier artist. They're going to make sure they dot their I's and cross their T's because they don't want to get sued. Even though things like that can still happen, people can't complain that they can't post someone else's IP and music for free. Hey, that sounds logical and reasonable. But no, with UMG being the company they are and having the resources they have, people ask whether they could have figured out the credit situation on the back end. That has nothing to do with this scenario. People aren't getting paychecks every hour because of their credits, okay? And I'll tell you this, guys, my publisher himself has told me before, I don't care if they take it because we can sue later if the record blows up. Just because credits aren't listed doesn't mean you can't prove the chain of custody and show that you produced or wrote something and weren't properly compensated. That's not what's happening here. So you could have figured that out later. The sales are still coming in. He's estimated to sell over 500,000 first week. Yeah. Like I said in my intro, this is non-music industry people talking about the music industry. They don't even bother doing the preliminary research to understand that this is normal. You can do this on YouTube. You can even do it on TikTok. But right now, Twitter doesn't have that licensing agreement. So it's pretty easy to understand why these records are getting taken down. Yeah, because they're records, guys. Universal wants people going to Spotify or YouTube where the music is officially posted, or where they have a system that allows them to claim the audio and collect revenue that way. And it's crazy that these quote-unquote experts, because they speak like experts, don't know even the simplest things about the music business. Let me know in the comments if you think UMG is trying to stonewall Drake and ruin Iceman, which is already a crazy claim, considering Drake has been very litigious about this exact kind of thing. I don't think UMG is going to hand Drake's legal team any kind of evidence or leverage to use against them. Look at this tweet right here. Drake went from 13.2 million streams to 4.9 million. People are going to run with that like it means something. And it absolutely means something. If you guys don't know, this particular person is definitely a very egregious. Context matters, but nobody wants context right now. And if that's not the pot calling the kettle black, man, I don't know what is. Yeah, of course that means something. Your streams dropped nearly 60%, which is crazy. Again, we're not talking about week 2 numbers. We're talking about day 2, and that's definitely not normal. LOL, I just got a DMCA takedown from Universal for my Drake post. I specifically avoided using any Iceman music or video clips because I knew they would take it down, but I wanted to see if the conspiracy was true, that they were trying to take down the narrative surrounding UMG and slow down the spread of Drake's newest songs. And I highly doubt that. Because if the company funding this project truly wanted to suppress it, do you honestly think it would get close to 500K? If they really wanted to shut it down.
So what I did was use a short clip of Sneakin' with 21 Savage, a song from 10 years ago. And fam, they obviously still own the rights to the record. Just because it came out 10 years ago doesn't mean they don't own it. There's no reason to take this down. There are clips of this song everywhere if you go through the past 10 years on X. And I'm pretty sure they've probably taken down plenty of those too. So the only reason to take it down would be because they didn't like the context the clip was being used in. A lot of the time, they're not even going that deep. They're simply identifying the song, recognizing the artist, and sending out the notice. It's really not that deep, guys. People are trying to find a conspiracy where there isn't one. And they went through it, and that's what they used to take it down. So clearly, they're not just trying to sabotage Drake's new release. They're using DMCA to take down any narrative they don't like. And this person wasn't even talking about a narrative. He's literally talking about media that was removed because they own it. This is a form of copyright abuse and something that a certain company connected to the Super Bowl has also used. Now this person is saying that Roc Nation is involved as well. If you posted anything associated with Drake's music, you are subject to getting a DMCA claim. And yeah, fam, you used one of their songs. You used something they own, which they technically have the right to take down. If they left it up all these years, it's because they allowed it to stay up. And for an artist and band face that constantly talks about ownership, they sure seem to know very little about what ownership actually means. I also saved this tweet earlier. It's actually from the same creator we just watched. But look at how delusional this gets. And someone sent me screenshots of the K-bots saying TDE paid them to react to Not Like Us. And I'm pretty sure it was a Kendrick Lamar hater disguised as a K-bot or Kendrick fan. While the song was being whitelisted and after 30 days, UMG copyright struck all their videos. And it wasn't a strike, guys. It was a claim. People throw those words around interchangeably when they really shouldn't. A copyright strike means exactly that. It's a strike against your channel and usually involves the video being taken down. A claim simply means they own the media being used and are now collecting the revenue from it. And in some cases, they aren't even taking all the revenue. They're sometimes doing revenue sharing. Y'all remember that? And definitely send me the screenshots, please, because I'm working on a video. And if it's anything like the last video we watched, man, you really don't have much to worry about. You can just talk, because clearly facts aren't the priority here. Alrighty, guys, here we have another clip talking about the takedowns. But even academics would have to understand that UMG is simply trying to collect their coins. You play Meek Mill music like Atlantic? Well, I mean, he's not with Atlantic anymore, and they're not coming after you aggressively. The thing with Drake is that he's been in a position. He's a flagship artist there, bro. You know, there was a time when I couldn't post Drake on Instagram. His rights, and it's not every rap artist's rights, are managed by the IFPI. If you see something with IFPI, it's basically an international phonographic third-party enforcement agency, and they aggressively enforce it. Obviously, that's at the behest and discretion of Universal. Drake's music makes them so much money that they go super hard trying to monetize every single stream, like they're looking at it differently. Generally, most sub-labels treat it like, alright, whatever. And honestly, it's crazy that the one person sounding even remotely logical here was academics. When it comes to Drake, they're like, promo? Forget promo, this is the bag. You know what I mean? Promo would be a tweet saying you're excited for Iceman or posting the release date or something like that, not uploading the actual music and believing UMG or their third-party enforcement team doesn't have the right to take it down. That's not how this works.
It's like swatching, what do you call it again? Swatching an AP and being like, yeah, y'all can have the first one free. Nah, that's not how it works. There is no free. Some of those watches were going for like $3,600, right? Ridiculous. They really don't play around with that. Now, granted, from my understanding, Drake had a conversation with them, you know what I mean? But man, if there's one thing I wish would get left behind, it's the nonstop promotion of online gambling. It's crazy how something that was taboo for so long and has ruined so many families gets promoted everywhere. I was watching the Knicks game earlier, and every few minutes there was another commercial or stadium ad for it. Egregious. Like, you know, his team was probably saying, yo, bro, check this out. Y'all did all that weird stuff for Kendrick where y'all let people do whatever they wanted, right? I need my fans to be able to do the same thing. The thing about Kendrick Lamar that a lot of people don't understand is that he licensed his music out to Interscope or UMG or whoever it may be. So if he's dropping something that technically isn't being distributed through UMG, he can do whatever he wants with it. They want it nice. We got to keep it straight. He's the one who would have to strike it. It looks like Universal may have told him to kick rocks. Like, yo, kick rocks. You think we're about to bend the rules for you and your fans? You think we're about to let all this go for free? And honestly, they probably told him something along those lines. But it's not like there isn't plenty of promo for this album. We literally see it all over the timeline. You say this is your last album? You about to dip on us? First of all, we got to make sure you don't go independent. But you think we're about to let this go for free? And that's really what this comes down to. People are treating normal copyright enforcement like it's some coordinated attack against Drake, when in reality, companies protect their intellectual property all the time. They're not taking down discussions about the album. They're not removing people for talking about Iceman. They're targeting people posting the actual music and copyrighted material. And that's an important distinction people keep ignoring. At the end of the day, this isn't some deep conspiracy. This is business. Labels want streams, royalties, and monetization to happen through platforms where they can control and collect revenue. That's how the system works. So let me know what you guys think. Is UMG actually trying to ruin Iceman, or are they simply enforcing copyright and protecting the revenue connected to Drake's music? This is the thing again. Everyone is assuming that the dude is independent, and he may be, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Drake were to re-sign and try to play it off as if he's independent. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen that. But yeah, they're heavily into monetization right now. You know what I mean? They are not going to let this one go. And honestly, as they should be. That's their product. They're not going to just let it go. And I absolutely agree with this tweet over here. My only qualm right now about Drake fans is why can't y'all just enjoy the albums? Like, why you keep bringing up Kendrick?
Just enjoy the album. But that's because Kendrick Lamar is a very, very vital part of the whole rollout, and you cannot convince me otherwise. And definitely let me know in the comments if you guys think I'm exaggerating, but I feel like we have seen either Drake or his fans just bring up Kendrick Lamar time and time again. And I almost feel like if you were to go through these projects and take out any disses towards Kendrick Lamar, you would effectively be taking out like 30 to 40% of the lyrics, man. And guys, the timing of all this streaming fraud awareness stuff is so hilarious, especially given the fact that we're coming off Spotify apologizing for mistakenly messing up the numbers. According to IFPI and the RIAA, streaming fraud includes the artificial inflation of plays through bots, clip farms, compromised accounts, and manipulated engagement that does not reflect genuine listener activity. Yeah, so you mean putting a playlist together and having the song play 9,000 times probably shouldn't be done. And that emergency meeting of the OV Hawaii man definitely was a comedic goldmine. But this person goes on to write that because streaming services pay royalties from a finite revenue pool, fraudulent streams can redirect revenue away from legitimate artists who earn real audience attention. This conversation intensified after Spotify publicly acknowledged an error involving Drake's latest release, where streams from two separate tracks were mistakenly combined during a manual review process. And that one record shouldn't equate to a 15% drop across all albums. That doesn't make sense.
Spotify later corrected the numbers, and those BTS fans definitely got on their ass. If you really want to get anything done, just go at them. And stated that updated review procedures have been implemented, and the fact that they said they manually counted this should definitely ring the alarm. While no evidence of deliberate fraud was presented, the incident exposed the larger issues surrounding transparency, verification, and how easily inaccurate data can shape public narratives before corrections are made. And I'll tell you this, none of these platforms want to give up that data, because if they really did, it would tank the companies. People will realize they're not making the money their valuations suggest. Industry organizations have increasingly started treating streaming manipulation as a systemic problem rather than isolated incidents. IFPI's recent anti-streaming fraud campaign specifically points to weaknesses in distributor onboarding, platform protections, and verification systems that allow artificial activity into the ecosystem. I will say this, even Spotify does not want to pay out fraudulent streams either, but there are many other alleged ways they can inflate things beyond just botting. Their argument is simple. Manipulated streams distort charts, damage artist trust, mislead consumers, and undermine the value of legitimate success. And the bigger concern is not just fake streams themselves, but the lack of consistent accountability across the digital music economy. Inflated numbers drive headlines, influence negotiations, shape industry perception, and affect playlist placement long before artists or corrections happen. And people don't realize how important it is to get into the top 10 of these playlists. I've said this before, when artists get removed from playlists, they can see like 75% drops in streams just from that alone. If you get into the top 10 of something like Rap Caviar, you pretty much guarantee a record goes gold just from placement. These playlists are basically like radio stations. A lot of people just press play on a playlist and whatever is there gets streamed. As pressure grows from labels, industry organizations, and consumers, platforms may eventually be forced towards stricter verification systems, transparent auditing, and improved fraud detection. And they absolutely don't want that. Spotify has been cracking down on botting, but again, it doesn't always have to be bots to inflate numbers. You can do things like preferential playlisting or banner placement. How many times have people been directed to Drake's music without even clicking on anything Drake related? That's something people talk about quite frequently. The future of streaming likely depends on whether DSPs can prove that the numbers being presented actually reflect human engagement. And again, that's why Netflix doesn't reveal their numbers. It would tank their stock. Keep music, sound, and streaming fraud. Yeah, it's very telling they put this out. I don't think it's a coincidence this came out yesterday, and BTS fans really did spark a movement. I keep seeing posts like Spotify really messed up, and Spotify does mess up a lot, I will say that. Alrighty guys, this next person goes on to write, you really start questioning it all when the RIAA is posting about ending streaming fraud, but won't pull out the playlisting autoplay deals with certain artists that Spotify has, loading the same 10 faces down our throats every month, and mindlessly deleting streams from innocent artists. Don't pay Spotify their song revenues quite literally after engineering a platform that has been proven to have systemic failure. They're not ending fraud. They're ending genuine fan interaction that they preach so much about. The fraud will keep happening with paid artists getting exposure for no reason. And it's not for no reason. They're obviously paying for it.
And if they were to expose any of this stuff, guess what? Paying for playlisting would have to be disclosed. It would almost be like paid advertisement. To end streaming fraud, you'd have to unmask the cronyism in the industry between established players from streaming platforms, distributors, and major labels. And yeah, these relationships have been built for decades. You've got labels that are like 50 or 60 years old. It's not in your mission statement. Why are the top charting hits sustained by towns with 5,000 people? And yeah, a lot of people were exposed for this. Remember that streaming farm in Turkey that was exposed? And that's obviously not the only one. I remember a report where a town with less than 3,000 residents was generating millions of streams. Look at this clip, guys. They actually name where a lot of these streams or top cities were coming from. It's obviously from a few years ago. Yeah, I think it was Glendave, Montana. Like, how was this number 2? Laredo, Texas? Very sketchy. And you start seeing these city names throughout. Glendave again, number 2. Alapena, Michigan, Puerto Rico, Minnesota. So yeah, guys, this obviously isn't a new thing. And to be honest, I don't think cheating is going anywhere. And I'll use another analogy. Sports leagues put a lot of money into catching performance-enhancing drug use, right? Players are still paying to try and avoid getting caught. It's obvious why it happens. People want to get paid for people listening to the music. If Drake fans want to promote the album, then just speak about it, post a date, do stuff like that. You can't think you have the right to steal a record and put it on Twitter and believe that you're allowed to do so. But just like any other situation with Drake stans, they're not going to be logical or do their due diligence before spreading misinformation online. It's like they're allergic to facts. And even when you debunk it calmly and respectfully, they just lash out and call you a bot, even though they're literally doing streaming parties and botting the record. But definitely let me know what you guys think. Hit the like and subscribe button. It does wonders for the channel. I really want to thank you guys for continuing to make this channel a part of your day. It means a lot, and the support is honestly overwhelming and the biggest reason I make these videos. Big shout out to everyone joining YouTube memberships. It really helps support the channel. And also a big thank you to everyone sending super thanks. If you want to continue the conversation, follow me on X. The link will be in the pinned comments and description. That's probably the best place to send news or videos for reactions. I'm looking forward to your takes in the comments section. I know they're going to be crazy. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys soon. And common sense definitely ain't so common.